help us to like, comment and subscribe to the channel for more of this. Sometimes, Emma wondered if her life would have turned out differently if her father hadn't died that spring morning. She was only 6, but the memory stayed fresh like it had happened yesterday. Her dad had been in the kitchen making his famous Sunday pancakes, always shaped like silly faces that made her laugh. Her mom was nearby, humming a tune while setting the table. "Princess, come help your old man flip these masterpieces," her dad called out, waving the spatula like a wand. Emma jumped off the couch, abandoning her stuffed bunny, and ran to the kitchen. Then it happened. The spatula hit the floor and her father clutched his chest, his face twisted in pain. Everything that followed became a blur of ambulance sirens, hospital lights, and her mother crying. Just like that, her dad was gone. The house felt too big, too quiet without him. Her mother didn't stay alone for long. She met Mark at a support group for widowed parents. He seemed kind, tall, calm, with eyes that reminded Emma of her father. Within a year they married and he moved into their home. Emma was still adjusting to the new man in her life when her mom shared unexpected news. She was pregnant. "You're going to be a big sister," her mom beamed, eyes sparkling. Emma smiled, but a strange feeling grew in her chest. When baby Ben arrived, everything shifted. Her mom quit her teaching job, always saying, "Ben needs me. These early years are crucial." Emma wanted to ask if her early years hadn't been important too, but the words always stayed trapped inside. Slowly, Emma became part of the background. Lunches went forgotten. School projects were overlooked. Whenever Emma said something, her mom would blink in surprise and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, sweetie. I was busy with Ben's doctor's appointment." This wasn't occasional, it was their new normal. Mark noticed. At dinner one night, as Emma quietly did her homework, he sat beside her and helped her with math. "Sometimes people focus so much on one thing," he said gently, "they forget to see what else matters." Emma nodded, comforted by his kindness. As Ben grew, so did the tension in the house. Mark tried to talk to her mom, but every discussion ended the same way, with shouting, tears and cold silence. Emma remembered one dinner clearly. Ben was 5, refusing to eat. Her mom hovered beside him, coaxing him like a baby. Mark put down his fork. "Sarah," he said, "we need to talk about this. He needs to start doing things on his own." Her mom's eyes hardened. "Are you calling me a bad mother?" "You know I'm not," Mark said, keeping calm. "But you've got 2 kids here, not 1. And I'm your husband, remember?" Emma focused on her mashed potatoes, pretending not to hear, though she caught every word. "Ben needs me," her mom snapped. "He's still so young." Emma muttered under her breath, "I was young too." No one heard. Things got worse when Mark suggested signing Ben up for Little League. Emma had been sitting on the stairs, pretending to read, when their voices floated from the kitchen. "Absolutely not," her mom screeched. "Do you know how dangerous baseball is? He could get hit, twist his ankle." "Sarah," Mark cut in, "he needs to experience life. You can't protect him from everything." But she wouldn't listen. Instead, she enrolled Ben in an art class. Emma remembered how Ben dragged his brush across the paper, bored out of his mind. He quit after 3 classes. Her mom blamed the teacher. Meanwhile, Mark began taking Emma to karate 3 times a week, cheering louder than anyone when she passed her belt tests. Emma flourished, but Ben became difficult. His room a mess, his attitude worse. Her mom would turn to Emma with that tired look. "Emma, be a darling and clean Ben's room, please." It was never a question. It was an order. One afternoon, Mark overheard her mom giving the same old instruction. "She's not his maid, Sarah," he said sharply. "He needs to pick up after himself." That was all it took. Her mom's eyes welled with tears, her signature defense. "I knew it," she said, voice trembling. "You love her more than your own son." Mark sighed, the strength in his face softening. He looked at Emma with guilt before raising his hands in surrender. "Fine," he said quietly, walking away. After that, he stopped challenging her about Ben. But he never stopped being there for Emma. Even if he gave up on the fights, he hadn't given up on her, and that small comfort meant everything. Emma's high school graduation was bittersweet. She stood proudly in her cap and gown, scanning the crowd. She saw Mark smiling and clapping, his eyes proud. Her mom was there too, but she kept checking her phone, probably texting Ben's babysitter. Later that evening, Mark called Emma into his study. "I've been saving," he said, laying out a folder of college brochures. Pick any school you want. The sky's the limit. Before Emma could speak, her mom burst into the room. You're not serious, she exclaimed. That money should be saved for Ben. He'll need it more. Mark's jaw clenched. This isn't up for debate, Sarah. My mind's made up. Emma chose Marshall University in West Virginia. Far enough to breathe, close enough to visit. Her mom didn't come for the move-in. Ben has separation anxiety, she said. But Mark helped her carry every last box. College was the freedom Emma never knew she needed. She called home weekly, but it was usually Mark who picked up. Your brother's in a rough phase, he'd explain, voice heavy with fatigue. He's spending time with the wrong kids. I tried getting him into after-school programs. Emma didn't need to hear the rest. Let me guess, she said. Mom said you were too hard on him? Mark chuckled bitterly. Exactly. Said I didn't understand how sensitive he is. Emma sighed. Her trips home became rare. When she did visit, Ben barely said a word, just stayed in his room with his games. His pale face glowed in the light of the screen, eyes blank. The difference between their lives had never been clearer. After college, Emma got a consulting job in West Virginia. She worked hard, built a stable life, and finally felt like she was living for herself. She still checked in occasionally. Mark kept her updated. I offered Ben a job, he said once over dinner. Just something simple at my construction firm to get him started. Emma raised an eyebrow. What did Mom say? Mark shook his head. She said it was beneath him. Said Ben's too smart for manual labor. Emma nearly choked on her drink. Too smart to work, but not too smart to sit around all day? Mark just gave her a sad smile. I keep trying, Emma. God knows I do. That dinner would be their last real conversation. 2 years later, Emma got the call. Mark had collapsed at work, heart attack. By the time she reached the hospital, he was gone. The funeral felt unreal. Her mom sobbed loudly, telling everyone how perfect Mark had been. He was everything to us, she wailed. Emma watched her perform, torn between pity and rage. The tears weren't for Mark, they were for the money. He had been the sole provider. Without him, how would she keep funding Ben's lifestyle? Ben didn't even wear a suit. He came in wrinkled khakis and spent most of the service scrolling on his phone. He's coping in his own way, her mom said softly. Emma said nothing. She just stood by the grave, remembering another man, another heart attack, another funeral. Only this time she saw everything clearly. A year after Mark's funeral, Emma barely kept in touch with her mother and brother. The only real updates came from Aunt Carol. Your mom's selling things, Carol said one day on the phone. She sold Mark's truck last month. Tools from his workshop went before that. Emma tried not to care, but when her mom called one Tuesday evening, she still felt that old ache in her chest. Emma, her mother's voice came through the phone, soft and unfamiliar. Please, I need you to come home. Something about her tone made Emma book a flight for the next day. When she pulled up to the house, she barely recognized it. The yard was overgrown, shutters hung crooked, and the paint was peeling. Her stomach turned at the sight. Her mother opened the door and Emma had to stop herself from gasping. The woman before her looked 20 years older, gray roots showing, wrinkles cutting deep into her face. The house smelled of mildew and dust coated every surface. Come in, her mom said weakly, leading her to the living room. Emma sat on a couch that sagged beneath her, its springs poking through. What's going on? Emma asked. Her mom sighed, wringing her hands. We're out of money. The pension barely covers bills. Mark's savings are almost gone. Emma's heart sank. What about Ben? Is he working? Her mom flinched, embarrassed. He's trying. But the last job wanted him to start at 8 a.m., and he's not a morning person. Another wanted him to do manual labor. With his intelligence. Emma clenched her jaw. Mom, he's in his 20s with no experience. He can't be picky. Her mother's voice rose instantly. You don't understand. Ben has challenges. He's sensitive. He's special. Then she shifted again, her voice trembling. We need your help, Emma. We can't survive without it. You're doing so well. Emma wanted to say no. She wanted to scream that she had always been the one overlooked. But looking at her mother's shaking hands and desperate eyes, she couldn't do it. How much? She asked. $1,500. A month, her mother whispered. Emma nearly choked. That was a huge portion of her salary. Still, she nodded slowly. I'll set up the transfer. Where's Ben now? She asked. He's at an interview, her mother said. But Emma glanced at the window. Ben's room glowed with the familiar flicker of a computer screen. True to her word, Emma began sending the money. Every month, $1,500 vanished from her account. She told herself it was the right thing, even if it meant pushing back plans for a new car or bigger apartment. She visited more often, though the visits felt like stepping into the past. Ben never changed, still glued to his games, still drinking from Emma's grocery bags. How's the job search? She'd ask. Mind your business, he'd grunt, never looking up. Emma started fixing up the house, paid to repair the wallpaper, the ceiling, even hired help when her mom sprained her ankle. The money she had saved for a vacation disappeared into the black hole of that house. Then one day she walked in and found a stranger sprawled on the couch. The woman looked like she belonged on a reality show. Fake lashes, glittering nails, clothes way too small. Who are you? Emma asked. Candy, the woman said, not looking up. Tommy's fiancé. Tommy emerged from his room grinning. She lives here now. Candy grabbed cookies Emma had brought and popped her gum loudly. Emma bit her tongue. Later that night she asked her mom about it. Isn't it wonderful? Her mom gushed. Candy's been a great influence. Tommy hasn't gone drinking in weeks. Emma said nothing but thought about the missing beer from the fridge. Emma's next visit started normally. She carried in bags of groceries and opened the front door, only to stop cold. The house was a disaster. Dishes towered in the sink, takeout boxes littered the counters, and clothes lay in heaps on the floor. Candy was on the couch, scrolling through her phone. Emma set down the bags. You live here, eat the food I buy. The least you could do is wash a dish. Candy glanced up with a smirk. Who do you think you are to come in here giving orders? This isn't your house. Emma's face flushed. I grew up here. You're just a guest. Candy laughed, sharp and mocking. You're wrong. This house belongs to Tommy now. Your mom signed it over to him. There's a will. Emma stormed into the kitchen. Her mom stood by the sink, sorting through coupons. Is it true? Emma asked, voice trembling. Did you make a will, leaving everything to Tommy? Her mother didn't meet her eyes at first. Then she turned, her face hard. Yes. It's true. Emma stared at her in disbelief. I've been the one helping you. I send money. I fix things. Tommy doesn't work, doesn't do anything. Her mom snapped. Don't you dare talk about your brother that way. You don't understand him. Understand what? Emma shouted. That he's a parasite? That he lives off of me while his girlfriend trashes the house. Stop being so dramatic, her mom screamed. Then she whispered something that knocked the wind out of Emma's lungs. I never loved you the way I love Tommy. Emma stood frozen. The silence after her mom's confession felt heavier than a scream. All the years she had told herself her mom loved her differently, not less, crumbled in that moment. She turned without a word. Candy's smug laughter echoed down the hall as she walked out. 21 years of trying, of hoping, of bending herself in every direction to be noticed. All of it ended with the quiet click of a door closing. The drive home was a blur. She didn't remember the highway or the stairs to her apartment. But she did remember one thing, staring at her banking app, finger hovering over the screen before pressing cancel. Recurring transfer, $1,500. Over the next few weeks, Emma threw herself into work. Strangely, her budget felt lighter. Her shoulders did too. She started researching how to invest the money she'd been sending home. Maybe she could finally buy her own house. A real one, not just a starter apartment. Then exactly 1 month later her phone rang. Her mother's number flashed on the screen. Emma let it ring, then sighed and answered. The money didn't come, her mom said immediately. No hello. No, how are you? Emma kept her voice steady. There's no mistake. I canceled the payments. Silence then. You what? Her mother screeched. After everything I've done for you? Emma laughed, not from joy but from disbelief. What have you done for me, Mom? Really? Forgot my birthday? Made me clean up after your precious son? Told me you never loved me? I didn't mean that, her mom protested. You know I was upset. Still doesn't make it untrue, Emma replied. We're counting on that money, her mom yelled. Tommy and Candy are planning a trip to Cancun. A vacation? Emma shouted. From what? Playing video games? Drinking my beer? Her mother screamed, "You're just jealous. He deserves that money more than you ever will." Fine, Emma said coldly. You made your choice. Now let Tommy take care of you. And with that she ended the call. Then she blocked the number. Blocking her mom's number didn't end things. Emma soon started receiving messages through Facebook, Instagram, even LinkedIn. Her mother's posts painted Emma as a cold, heartless daughter who abandoned her struggling family. After all I sacrificed for her, one post read, "This is how she repays me." Ben started sending angry texts too. "You're tearing this family apart," one message read. "Mom's crying every night because of you. You better start sending money again, or else." Emma blocked him too. But not before replying, "Here's a wild idea. Get a job." Even Candy joined the pity parade. She sent a long message through LinkedIn of all places, about how Emma was crushing her poor future mother-in-law's spirit, and how Tommy was too emotionally fragile to work right now. Emma just stared at her screen dumbfounded. She couldn't believe the audacity. These people had lived off her, insulted her, discarded her, and now they were mad she stopped enabling them. But this time, Emma didn't fold. She didn't reply. She didn't explain. She just blocked them all and kept moving forward. 6 months passed. Emma hadn't heard from her family and didn't miss them. For the first time in her life she felt peace. The money she once sent home now went into her house fund. Her new financial freedom felt like breathing fresh air after years underwater. No more tense phone calls. No more guilt. No more being the fallback plan for a family that never treated her like a daughter. She slept better. She smiled more. And for once her life felt like it was her own. One afternoon she passed a construction site on her way home from work. A big red sign read, "Now hiring, no experience needed." For a split second she considered taking a photo and sending it to Ben. Just for the irony. But then she shook her head, smiled, and kept driving. It wasn't her problem anymore. Their mess, their drama, their choices, they weren't hers to clean up. Not anymore. That moment, small as it was, felt like closing the final chapter of a book that had haunted her for years. Emma eventually bought her first house. A cozy 2-bedroom place with a sunlit kitchen and a garden out back. She filled it with soft rugs, plants, books, and silence, the kind that came from peace, not absence. Friends visited often. She hosted dinners, laughed loudly, and lived fully. On her bookshelf sat a single framed photo of Mark at her college graduation, smiling with pride. That was the father who had chosen her. The one who had seen her. She never hung photos of her mother or Ben. Some people belonged in the past. At work, Emma began mentoring young hires. One day, a nervous intern asked her, "How did you get where you are?" Emma paused before answering. "By learning when to stop apologizing for other people's choices," she said. The intern looked confused. Emma smiled kindly and continued, "I used to think I had to fix everything for everyone. That if I just gave a little more, loved a little harder, they'd finally see me. But some people aren't blind, they're just never going to look." The intern nodded slowly. It made sense. On the first anniversary of Mark's death, Emma visited his grave. She brought lasagna, his favorite, and sat on a bench nearby. "I did it," she whispered. "I got out. Just like you always wanted for me." The breeze was gentle. The trees whispered above her. She didn't cry. Not out of coldness, but because there was nothing to grieve anymore. Just gratitude. Mark had shown her what love looked like, even when no one else did. He gave her what her mother never could, belief in her worth. Later that night she logged into her bank app and smiled. The savings she had built in the past year were enough to cover an emergency, invest a little, and even plan a real vacation. A vacation she would take alone on her terms with no guilt attached. She thought about Candy, about Ben, about her mother, and felt nothing. No rage. No sadness. Just distance. Emotional freedom, it turned out, was even more valuable than financial freedom. And now she had both. She still occasionally received emails from strangers. Extended relatives who heard a twisted version of the story. Emma never replied. She didn't need to defend herself anymore. The truth lived in her peace, her success, and the life she had built from scratch. For every dollar she used to send to the house that never felt like home, she had now planted a seed that bloomed under her own roof. Her life was hers. At last. One evening, Emma stood barefoot in her kitchen, sipping tea and watching the sunset. The light turned the walls gold, the air calm. She thought back to that 6-year-old girl running to the kitchen as her dad made pancakes. "You did good," she whispered to the memory. Then she looked out the window and smiled. There was no looking back now. Her freedom hadn't been gifted, it had been earned. And she would never hand it over again. Moral lesson. Sometimes the hardest act of love is choosing yourself. And walking away from those who never chose you. Please help us to like, comment and subscribe to the channel for more of this.